Toyota is recalling more than 120,000 Toyotas. The recalled vehicles, the 2022 to 2024 Toyota Tundra, it focuses on a potential engine problem there. Debris from the manufacturing process could get into the engine and cause a failure.
Toyota finally admitted it. The Tundra engine problem. It wasn't just debris. They've been lying to you this entire time. For months, thousands of Tundra owners watched their brand new trucks fail. Engines dying, metal shavings everywhere. And Toyota? They blamed it on manufacturing debris. A simple cleanup, they said. Nothing to worry about. But that was a cover-up. Because what they discovered inside those engines, it changes everything. We're not talking about a little dust or leftover metal from the factory. We're talking about a fundamental flaw that Toyota knew about and tried to hide behind a convenient excuse. The real issue? It's been destroying engines from the inside out, and it affects way more trucks than they ever admitted. Owners are furious. Class action lawsuits are piling up. And now, Toyota's finally coming clean. But only because they got caught. So what's the real problem lurking inside these Tundra engines? What didn't they want you to know? And more importantly, is your truck on the list? Toyota finally admitted it. The Tundra engine problem. It wasn't just debris. They've been lying to you this entire time. For months, thousands of Tundra owners watched their brand new trucks fail. Engines dying, metal shavings everywhere. And Toyota? They blamed it on manufacturing debris. A simple cleanup, they said. Nothing to worry about. But that was a cover-up. Because what they discovered inside those engines, it changes everything. We're not talking about a little dust or leftover metal from the factory. We're talking about a fundamental flaw that Toyota knew about and tried to hide behind a convenient excuse. The real issue? It's been destroying engines from the inside out, and it affects way more trucks than they ever admitted. Owners are furious. Class action lawsuits are piling up, and now Toyota's finally coming clean. But only because they got caught. So what's the real problem lurking inside these Tundra engines? What didn't they want you to know? And more importantly, is your truck on the list? The numbers tell their own story. In May 2024, Toyota filed documents with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration listing 824 separate engine failure claims for the Tundra and Lexus LX, each one representing a truck that lost power, seized up, or left its owner stranded. That was just the beginning. Within months, the recall ballooned to cover more than 126,000 vehicles, 2022 to 2024 Tundras, along with thousands of Lexus LX and GX SUVs. The recall expansion in November 2025 swept in an extra 113,000 Tundras, nearly 10,000 LX 600s, and almost 4,000 GX 550s, all built after Toyota's so-called fix was supposed to have solved the problem. That's over 127,000 vehicles in total, each one carrying the same 3.4-liter twin-turbo V6 engine, each one at risk of catastrophic failure. The raw scale is staggering. These are not isolated incidents. Trucks failing at 18,000 to 50,000 miles. Engines that should last a decade, dying in less than 2 years. For every official claim, owner forums and Facebook groups buzzed with stories of breakdowns not yet captured by Toyota's paperwork. Some 2024 models, built after the manufacturing process, was supposedly cleaned up, still ended up on tow trucks, their engines ruined by the same familiar failure. The numbers kept rising, even as Toyota insisted the problem was contained. Toyota's own filings reveal how fast the crisis spread. The first recall covered just over 100,000 vehicles, targeting engines built between November 2021 and February 2023. But as complaints rolled in, Toyota was forced to admit the problem stretched further. By December 2025, the recall covered virtually every non-hybrid Tundra and Lexus LX produced over a 2-year span. The official explanation? Machining debris left behind during engine assembly, clogging oil passages, and starving the main bearings of lubrication. But even after Toyota upgraded its cleaning process in December 2022, failures kept happening. The numbers didn't lie. Warranty claims are just the tip of the iceberg. For every engine replaced under recall, There are owners stuck on waiting lists for months, trucks idling at dealerships, and resale values plunging on the used market. The scale of the recall, over 127,000 vehicles, shook the confidence of longtime Toyota loyalists. For drivers who bought into Toyota's reputation for reliability, these numbers landed like a punch to the gut. A crisis measured not just in engines lost, but in trust eroded, and in the sheer volume of trucks now branded as potential ticking time bombs. The statistics paint a clear picture. This isn't a minor hiccup or a rare defect. It's a nationwide engine crisis, one that forced Toyota into the largest V6 truck recall in its history. And for every new claim, every new recall expansion, the question grows louder. How many more trucks are at risk? And how deep does this problem really go? The recall didn't just arrive all at once. It crept outward, step by step, as more failures surfaced and Toyota's confidence in its own fix faded. The first wave, announced in mid-2024, targeted just over 100,000 Tundras and Lexus LX models, built between November 2021 and February 2023. Owners of these trucks received letters warning of possible engine trouble, along with instructions to bring their vehicles in for inspection or a full engine replacement. Toyota's message to the public was clear. This was a limited problem, tied to a specific batch of engines, and the cause, machining debris, had already been addressed on the assembly line. But the breakdowns didn't stop. By late summer, reports of engine seizures in supposedly unaffected trucks began to trickle in from dealers and owner forums. These weren't old, high-mileage vehicles. Some were 2024 models, built months after the factory's cleaning process had been upgraded. For every claim Toyota processed, new complaints appeared online, each one casting doubt on the idea that the crisis was contained. In November 2025, the situation could no longer be managed quietly. Toyota filed new documents with regulators, expanding the recall by another 113,000 Tundras, nearly 10,000 Lexus LX 600s, and almost 4,000 GX 550s. This time, the recall swept up vehicles built as late as February 2024, trucks that had rolled off the line after the so-called fix was in place. Even the 2025 model year, which Toyota had promoted as problem-free, was now implicated. The recall's net stretched wider, pulling in VIN ranges that had previously been considered safe. For thousands of owners, the news landed like a second blow. Trucks purchased just months earlier were suddenly at risk, their value and reliability in question. The official explanation shifted with each expansion. At first, Toyota insisted the problem was limited to a single production window. Then, as the recall grew, the company cited the possibility that larger debris might have slipped through, even after improved cleaning. The language became more cautious. There was no longer any guarantee that the issue had been fully solved. Each new batch of failures forced Toyota to admit, piece by piece, that the problem was bigger than they had told the public. Owners who thought they had dodged the bullet found themselves back in the crosshairs. Trucks that had never shown symptoms were now flagged for inspection. Dealerships braced for another surge of service calls, parts orders, and angry customers demanding answers. For many, the recall was no longer a distant headline. It was a reality that hit home, threatening livelihoods and upending plans. The expansion into 2025 models shattered any illusion that this was a one-time fluke. It was a rolling crisis, unfolding in real time, with no clear end in sight. 3 months. That's how long some Tundra owners have watched their lives grind to a halt, waiting for an engine that never arrives. It starts with a warning light or a faint knock. Then, out of nowhere, the engine seizes at just 32,000 miles, less than halfway through a typical truck loan. The tow truck hauls it away, and suddenly, work stops. Family routines collapse, and all the plans built around a reliable Toyota vanish overnight. For thousands, the first call to the dealership brings little comfort. There's no spare engine on the shelf. The service advisor offers a loaner, but only if one's available. If not, owners are left scrambling, renting trucks out of pocket, borrowing from friends, or simply sitting at home, watching the weeks tick by. In online forums, stories pile up of contractors who can't haul tools to job sites, parents missing school drop-offs, small business owners watching contracts slip away. The truck that once promised freedom and security now chains its owner to uncertainty. The financial hit lands just as hard. A 2022 Tundra, bought for $55,000, now struggles to fetch $45,000 on the used market, if a dealer will even take it in trade. Some owners report losing more than $10,000 overnight, their trucks branded as risky, unsellable assets. For those still making payments, the math is brutal, owing more than the truck is worth, with no end to the wait in sight. Insurance won't cover the lost value, and Toyota's goodwill gestures, if they come at all, rarely make up the difference. It doesn't end when the new engine finally arrives. Some replacement engines have failed again within months, sending owners back to square one. Each time, Toyota requires the failed engine be shipped straight to headquarters for inspection. No independent mechanic, no second opinion, just another round of waiting. In the meantime, families juggle rentals, ride shares, and mounting bills. The promise of Toyota's legendary reliability feels like a bad joke. The ripple effects stretch far beyond the shop floor. Resale values for 2022 through 2024 Tundras cratered after the recalls hit the headlines. Trucks that once held their value better than any competitor suddenly became liabilities. Owners who needed to sell, whether for a new job, a move, or just to escape the uncertainty, found themselves trapped. Stories circulate of $45,000 trucks going for $35,000, of trade-in offers slashed by 5 figures, of buyers walking away at the mere mention of a recalled VIN. For many, the hardest part isn't the money. It's the feeling of being left in the dark, powerless, as weeks turn into months with no clear answers. The badge on the grille once stood for something unbreakable. Now, it's a reminder of broken promises and a future on hold. It starts with a sound, a faint tapping maybe, or a soft knock that wasn't there yesterday. For some Tundra owners, that's the only warning. Others get nothing at all until the oil pressure light flashes for a split second, then disappears, almost as if daring you to ignore it. Then, out of nowhere, the engine noise deepens. The gentle tap turns into a heavy, metallic clatter. It's the kind of sound that makes your stomach drop, especially when you know what's at stake. A truck that's supposed to last 500,000 miles, now threatening to die before the odometer even ticks past 40,000. The sequence is almost always the same. First, a knock. Then, the grinding starts, metal scraping against metal as the main bearings begin to fail. Some owners describe it as a rattling deep in the engine, like pebbles tossed in a tin can. Others say it's more like a steady, low growl that gets worse every time they press the gas. Within minutes, the truck loses power. The dashboard lights up, warning after warning, but by then, it's too late. The engine seizes, the crankshaft locks up. The truck coasts to a stop, powerless, stranded wherever it happens, on the highway, in a parking lot, or halfway up a mountain pass with a trailer still hooked to the hitch. What's left behind isn't pretty. Service techs pulling the oil pan find metal shavings, sometimes enough to fill a small cup, scattered throughout the bottom end. But the top of the engine, the camshafts and valves, often look untouched. The oil passages are clear, the filter isn't clogged. It's the main bearings, deep inside the block, that have given up. In some cases, the bearing shells have spun in their seats, cutting off oil flow and welding themselves to the crank. The result is catastrophic. A bottom end so chewed up that even a full rebuild won't save it. For drivers, the moment of failure is more than mechanical. It's a sudden, gut-wrenching loss of control. One minute you're merging onto the interstate, The next, you're fighting to get to the shoulder as the engine shudders and dies. There's no gradual decline, no safe warning period, just a split second between normal and disaster. Some owners have described the terror of losing power while towing heavy loads, the truck slowing dangerously with traffic rushing past. Others recount the helplessness of watching the oil light flicker and fade, knowing there's nothing they can do but hope for a safe place to pull over. The aftermath is always the same. The truck is towed to the dealership, where the service team confirms what the owner already suspects. The engine is done. The diagnosis reads like a checklist: bearing failure, crankshaft damage, metal contamination throughout the oil system. The cause? Officially, Toyota still points to machining debris. But for owners who have seen the inside of their failed engines or watched independent teardowns online, the evidence suggests something deeper. The bearings themselves are too narrow, the oil too thin, the tolerances too tight for the kind of punishment a full-size truck endures, especially under heavy load. The shavings in the pan aren't the cause. They're the byproduct, the final proof that when the engine gives up, it does so all at once. For anyone behind the wheel of a from 2022 to 2024 Tundra, the symptoms are now impossible to ignore. A knock, a warning light, a sudden grinding halt. And with every new failure, the question grows louder. How many more engines will give up before Toyota admits what's really going on? Toyota finally admitted it. The Tundra engine problem. It wasn't just debris. They've been lying to you this entire time. For months, thousands of Tundra owners watched their brand new trucks fail. Engines dying, metal shavings everywhere. And Toyota? They blamed it on manufacturing debris. A simple cleanup, they said. Nothing to worry about. But that was a cover-up. Because what they discovered inside those engines, it changes everything. We're not talking about a little dust or leftover metal from the factory. We're talking about a fundamental flaw that Toyota knew about and tried to hide behind a convenient excuse. The real issue? It's been destroying engines from the inside out. And it affects way more trucks than they ever admitted. Owners are furious. Class action lawsuits are piling up. And now, Toyota's finally coming clean. But only because they got caught. So what's the real problem lurking inside these Tundra engines? What didn't they want you to know? And more importantly, is your truck on the list? Toyota's official response to the Tundra engine crisis came packaged in carefully worded press releases and warranty bulletins. The company's public statements, echoed by spokespeople in interviews and filings to regulators, all pointed back to a single explanation: machining debris. According to Toyota, small metal shavings left behind during assembly at the Huntsville, Alabama engine plant could end up lodged in oil passages, starving the crankshaft bearings of lubrication. Machining debris may not have been cleared during production, one statement read, and in rare circumstances, this can result in engine knocking, rough running, or even a loss of motive power. To reassure owners, Toyota outlined a straightforward remedy. Eligible vehicles, initially those built from November 2021 through February 2023, would receive a free inspection and, if necessary, a complete engine replacement at no cost. The company emphasized its commitment to customer care, with a spokesperson stating, "Toyota stands by its vehicles. We are providing free repairs to ensure your peace of mind." For those affected, the recall came with an automatic extension of the powertrain warranty, covering the engine for up to 10 years or 150,000 miles, whichever came first. Dealerships were instructed to prioritize these repairs, and owners were promised that any engine exhibiting symptoms would be addressed promptly. The official narrative left little room for doubt. Toyota described the issue as limited in scope, tied to a specific batch of engines and a manufacturing process that had since been corrected. The company pointed to process improvements made in December 2022, including enhanced cleaning procedures and stricter quality checks on the assembly line. "We have taken steps to address this issue at the source," read one press release, "and we are confident that vehicles produced after these changes are not affected." As the recall expanded in late 2025, Toyota's language grew more cautious, but remained firmly rooted in the debris explanation. The company acknowledged that some later vehicles might contain larger debris not cleared by previous improvements, but insisted that the underlying cause remained a manufacturing anomaly, not a flaw in the engine's design. In a November 2025 filing with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Toyota reiterated, "The presence of machining debris in the engine may block oil passages, increasing the risk of bearing damage and engine stall. This is a result of a production process deviation, not a systemic issue." Throughout the crisis, Toyota's public stance remained consistent. Free replacements, extended warranties, and a message of reassurance. The problem was real, but it was fixable, and it was being handled. For owners, the company's position offered a clear path to resolution, at least on paper. The promise was simple: bring your truck in, and Toyota would make it right. But for many, the reality behind the scenes was far more complicated. Toyota finally admitted it. The Tundra engine problem. It wasn't just debris. They've been lying to you this entire time. For months, thousands of Tundra owners watched their brand new trucks fail, engines dying, metal shavings everywhere. And Toyota? They blamed it on manufacturing debris. A simple cleanup, they said. Nothing to worry about. But that was a cover-up. Because what they discovered inside those engines, it changes everything. We're not talking about a little dust or leftover metal from the factory. We're talking about a fundamental flaw that Toyota knew about and tried to hide behind a convenient excuse. The real issue? It's been destroying engines from the inside out, and it affects way more trucks than they ever admitted. Owners are furious. Class action lawsuits are piling up. And now, Toyota's finally coming clean, but only because they got caught. So what's the problem lurking inside these Tundra engines? What didn't they want you to know? And more importantly, is your truck on the list? Eric Morales, a former dealership technician turned independent analyst, spent weeks collecting failed Tundra engines from across the country. He wasn't interested in Toyota's press releases. He wanted to see inside the engines themselves. What he found contradicted every official explanation. Morales' teardowns started with the basics: remove the oil pan, check the filter, inspect the passages. In engine after engine, even those with less than 40,000 miles, the top end looked spotless. No sludge, no caked-on metal, no evidence of shavings migrating through the oil system. The camshafts, lifters, and valve train were pristine, untouched by the kind of debris Toyota blamed for the failures. But the bottom end told a different story. Main bearing shells were gouged, some spun entirely out of place. The crankshaft journals showed deep scoring, aluminum smeared across their surfaces. In several engines, the thrust bearing, the part designed to keep the crankshaft from moving forward and back, was worn to the copper, its surface area shockingly small compared to the old 5.7-liter V8. Morales measured it himself. The thrust area was almost half what it used to be, a change that left the bearing with less room to spread out the forces of a heavy truck under load. One detail stood out in every teardown: the missing locating tabs on the main bearings. Previous Toyota engines, and nearly every heavy-duty truck engine on the market, used these tabs to keep the bearings locked in place under extreme pressure. Without them, Morales explained, the bearing could twist or spin, cutting off oil flow and causing instant failure. It's a shortcut that saves weight and simplifies assembly, but it leaves no margin for error when the engine is pushed hard, especially with the ultra-thin 0W20 oil Toyota now requires for emissions and fuel economy. Every oil passage Morales checked was open. The pickup tube was clear. He found no clumps of metal blocking the flow, no evidence that debris had migrated through the system before the failure. The only metal shavings he found were in the oil pan, a byproduct of the bearings self-destructing, not the cause of the problem, but the aftermath. Morales compared the V6 internals to the old V8, laying the parts side by side. The difference was obvious. The V8 bearings were wider, with more surface to handle the pounding of a loaded trailer or a mountain pass. The V6 were narrow, with barely enough width to survive daily driving, let alone years of hard work. In his words, these bearings are just too skinny for the job. His findings matched what owners had been describing for months: engines failing without warning, often under load, with no sign of oil starvation until it was too late. For Morales and others watching the evidence pile up, the conclusion was hard to ignore. The failures weren't caused by a few stray metal shavings. They were baked into the design, hidden beneath the surface of an engine that was never built to handle the real-world demands of a full-size truck. Toyota finally admitted it. The Tundra engine problem. It wasn't just debris. They've been lying to you this entire time. Deep inside the V35A twin-turbo V6, the trouble starts with choices made on the drawing board, not the factory floor. Toyota's new engine was built for a different era, lighter, more efficient, and designed to squeeze every last mile per gallon out of a full-size truck. To hit those targets, engineers turned to ultra-thin 0W20 oil, a lubricant that flows fast and cuts friction, but leaves almost no safety margin when the going gets tough. The clearances between moving parts are razor-tight. Every journal, every bearing, every oil passage is built to exacting tolerances, all in service of fuel economy and emissions. But for truck owners, those microscopic margins become a problem the moment real work enters the picture. Design. The main bearings, responsible for keeping the crankshaft spinning smoothly under load, are shockingly narrow compared to the ones found in the old 5.7-liter V8. The thrust bearing, which absorbs the force every time a trailer jerks or a load shifts, has had its surface area slashed nearly in half. Instead of the wide, robust bearings that made the V8 legendary for 500,000 miles, the V6 relies on thinner, lighter parts that simply aren't built to take a beating. And unlike its predecessor, the V35A's main bearings lack locating tabs. In most heavy-duty engines, those tabs lock the bearing shells in place, preventing them from spinning when the crankshaft is hammered by 10,000 pounds of trailer or a steep mountain climb. Without them, the bearing can twist or walk under stress, cutting off the oil supply in an instant. Bearings. The 0W20 oil, ideal for cold starts and low drag, forms an oil film barely thicker than a human hair. Under normal driving, it's enough. But when the engine is asked to hold 3,500 revolutions per minute, with turbos spooled and a full load in tow, the pressure on those tiny bearings skyrockets. Any slight deviation, an extra degree of heat, a momentary loss of pressure, a sudden jolt, can break the film, letting metal scrape directly on metal. That's when disaster strikes. The bearing surface wipes out, aluminum smears across the crank, and the engine's fate is sealed long before the warning light blinks on. Disaster. This design works in a lightweight sedan or a crossover, but in a truck built to haul and tow, the margins are too slim. The old V8 could shrug off abuse thanks to its overbuilt internals and forgiving oil passages. The V6, chasing CAFE standards and weight savings, runs right up against the limits of what's possible with modern engineering. Every ounce trimmed, every millimeter shaved, every drop of oil made thinner, all add up to an engine that's efficient on paper, but fragile in the real world. Fragile. For owners, this isn't just a technical quirk. It's the reason trucks are dying at 18,000 or 50,000 miles, sometimes while towing cross-country or hauling a week's worth of work. The engineering shortcuts taken to meet new standards have left the heart of the Tundra vulnerable, and the consequences are showing up one seized engine at a time. Vulnerable. Toyota finally admitted it. The Tundra engine problem. It wasn't just debris. They've been lying to you this entire time. For months, thousands of Tundra owners watched their brand new trucks fail. Engines dying, metal shavings everywhere. And Toyota? They blamed it on manufacturing debris. A simple cleanup, they said. Nothing to worry about. But that was a cover-up. Because what they discovered inside those engines, it changes everything. We're not talking about a little dust or leftover metal from the factory. We're talking about a fundamental flaw that Toyota knew about and tried to hide behind a convenient excuse. The real issue? It's been destroying engines from the inside out, and it affects way more trucks than they ever admitted. Owners are furious. Class action lawsuits are piling up. And now, Toyota's finally coming clean, but only because they got caught. So what's the real problem lurking inside these Tundra engines? What didn't they want you to know? And more importantly, is your truck on the list? Toyota's response to the Tundra engine crisis didn't just hinge on technical explanations. It relied on controlled the story at every turn. When the first recalls hit, hybrids were left off the list. Toyota claimed the iForce Max's electric motor meant it could limp home if the gas engine failed, so it wasn't a safety issue. But for owners, that distinction rang hollow. The same 3.4-liter twin-turbo V6, the same weak bearings, the same risks under the hood, yet only some trucks got the warning letter. The exclusion fueled suspicion in owner groups and across social media. If the problem was truly isolated to debris, why draw the line at hybrids? Why expand the recall in slow, careful steps instead of tackling the whole fleet at once? The company's grip on the narrative tightened with the engine return policy. Every failed engine had to be shipped straight back to Toyota, no exceptions. Independent mechanics and teardown specialists were effectively locked out. Owners desperate for answers, or for a second opinion, hit a wall of corporate policy. The only people allowed to examine the evidence were the ones with the most to lose. For critics, it looked less like quality control and more like a way to keep the real story buried. Longtime Toyota fans watched this play out with growing disbelief. For years, the badge stood for something different. The old 5.7-liter V8 built Toyota's reputation on unbreakable reliability, engines that ran for 500,000 miles, trucks that outlasted their owners. Now, the same company was fielding calls from angry customers stuck in months-long limbo, their new trucks broken and unsellable. The contrast couldn't be sharper. One owner, Linda Torres, put it simply, "We bought Toyota for peace of mind. Now it feels like we're being managed, not helped." The fallout extended far beyond the service bay. Used values for 2022 to 2024, Tundras cratered. Contractors and small business owners who once trusted Toyota to keep them on the road found themselves sidelined for months. Calls for buybacks and full refunds grew louder as more replacement engines failed. In online forums, the stories piled up, trucks on their second or third engine before 100,000 miles, families forced to downsize, livelihoods put on hold. The brand's promise of bulletproof reliability, built over decades, was unraveling in real time. For many, the sense of betrayal cut deeper than the financial loss. The badge that once meant freedom and trust now stood for corporate spin and shifting explanations. Toyota's effort to control the facts, excluding hybrids, locking down failed engines, rolling out recalls in slow motion, only fed the anger. Owners wanted the truth. Instead, they got policy. And as the scale of the crisis became impossible to contain, the calls for real accountability grew too loud to ignore. Today, trust in Toyota's badge is no longer automatic. As engine failures outpace fixes and lawsuits mount, every Tundra owner faces a new reality. Reliability can't be taken on faith, even from the giants. The real test isn't how a company responds to failure. It's whether transparency and accountability become the new standard. Until then, the road ahead remains uncertain. Share your story below. Every voice matters now.